Hi YouTube friends, welcome back to Thistle Farm. Today I want to give you an update on where we are with the grass. If you remember recently, I did an update where we decided that this pasture needed some improvement, so we moved the hogs off of it. And that pasture back there needed someone to eat it. And they've been very busy out there, and so today I just want to show you what's going on right here, which is great news. Sorry about twirling you around like that. The lower pasture is the pasture reserved primarily for our brood group. That is our sow and our boar and our little buddy, little mister. Looking at this pasture now, we can see a lot of things going on here. For one, we have a lot of regrowth in grass. And for two, we have a lot of clover coming in. In fact, it's everywhere. Got some buttercups over there too where I don't mow. But overall, this pasture is absolutely thriving, and it's representative of everything that's going on this entire slope, with the exception of the very top of the property, which has a different kind of grass because it's more drought tolerant, because it's dry on top of the hill. Across the pond, we've got more of the same here. What I want to do now is walk down to the paddock system, where we will be raising out this year's batch of pork, and show you how the progress is there. For those of you who haven't seen this, what we're about to see is paddock system. It's basically one big area that's been cut down into roughly a dozen pieces, and we rotate the hogs through this. They get one part of it at a time. So here we are. This is where the party started, and when they left this paddock here, and actually the next one, I mowed after them. Now this was a few weeks ago, and you can see that this went from ankle high to knee high, and a lot of this is emerging seasonal grasses. Some things aren't even grasses, but most of it is edible, and the hogs have really had a great time chewing on it all. The reason I mow after them is to make sure that the stuff they leave behind, which is the things they don't typically want to eat, gets disadvantaged. This is a good example of something that they don't want to eat. I did mow that, and it's grown back already. As we walk through this system, I'm walking through live wires because I have my fence tester. We've had a lot of rain, and we're going to test the fence, make sure it's good and hot. I mean, make some changes because it's not very hot, and I'll show you why. So as we travel through the paddock system, we're going to go from very tall grass to very short grass as we transition through the system, because what you're looking at here are paddocks that were grazed first, and the more recently grazed paddocks are coming up. So you can see here we're in the fourth paddock. The grass is much lower. You can actually see the bottom row of fence. Here is where the grass began to win a race, and it got real close, and I mowed it, and this looked just like that about a week ago. This was more recently mowed. The taller this grass gets when I mow it, less likely it is to grow back after a certain point. You can see, however, that it is trying, and this is a winter rye mostly, some oats, which is really obvious now. I wasn't sure quite what it was previously, but down in the far paddocks that haven't been touched yet by these hogs, we have seed heads and it's obviously oats that I sowed last fall. So as we get closer and closer, you can see that this is a lot stemmier. The grass was much taller when I mowed this, even after the hogs grazing on it. And there are said hogs right there. Mister checking if it's time for him to do his job. Little mister chilling. And our sow, who is the reason, part of the reason that they're out here, and that's to slim her down. Okay, it's the very last paddock that I mowed, and it's interesting because we're transitioning from primarily sunny area to more shady area here. This didn't grow up as tall, and the patch that I'm standing on right here is the area that I forgot to reseed. I reseeded this whole pasture, and I left this half of this paddock out. So we've had a couple days of rain, and this was the paddock that I took them out of just this morning. You can see a taller, stemmy, going to seed grass is being left behind in favor of the lusher stuff, and we see a pretty good amount of trampling going on here. This particular weed here is a perennial. I don't know what it's called, but it sure is ornery and hard to get rid of. I've been battling this stuff for quite a while, and as you can see, I'm not winning. I'm reluctant to use chemicals, and so getting out here and stomping it and mowing it slows it down a bit. But as you can see, once spring springs, these things just jump right into action. This is the oats that I mentioned before. I overseeded this pasture to grow oat grass, which they love. It's also high in protein, just like the ryegrass, but this is a cereal crop, not a grass crop. So I'm tempted to let some of this go to seed because I know it'll sprout in the fall. Okay, so this morning I opened up, extended their lane, which you can see they've done a great job at munching on. Down one more paddock, and all this damage you see right here between that T-post and the next one, which has that other red reel on it, this was all done this morning, and it's about 12:30 now. You can see here how tall this grass has gotten. I'm not a giant tall person, but that's at least 5 feet tall right there. And this is pretty much the tallest that I see right around me. But what I'm looking for here is seed heads, and I see seed heads on lots of things. So you can see they're knocking a lot of this down, going after the choicest ingredients, and really just making a mess of it. Now, they will turn some of their attention to eating. Once they found all the ice cream, they're going to start eating some of the things that they've trampled down. But it's going to take a lot of effort, and as soon as it dries out, I'm going to get out here with the mower on the very highest setting possible, beating back the cool season grasses to make room for the warmer season grasses, because we have piglets coming in, see, mid-June looks like. Really depends on when they hit the ground. That's going to be exciting because there's a whole new breed this year, but more on that later. What I'm out here to do right now is to put these boots to the test as far as their electrical insulation properties, which is probably not that great. So this fence, my charger puts out a really good amount, about a little over 8,000 volts. And what I'm trying to do here is just kick some of this back, because I noticed this morning when I moved them that, you can see it right there, that the grass is laying over this wire, and you might be about to see me get zapped. But what I have to do here, because is get this fence to be hitting good and hot, because while a few blades of grass won't ruin it, if it doesn't stay hot enough and the pigs accidentally figure it out, then we're gonna have a problem on our hands, because as they munch this down, if they see something they like better on the other side of the fence, they're just going to go for it. They have no idea that going outside that fence means the world is available to them. But I promise you, when they figure it out, you're just going to walk through without thinking about it. So we're almost done here to the end. So I don't like using weed whackers either. If you've been around the channel long enough, you probably know this too. I feel bad enough about burning up a bunch of gas to shorten the grass. It's for a good reason though. It's what we're trying to do, is keep bare ground from occurring. It's another reason why we're going with a different breed this season. We probably won't get rid of those guys, because on a homestead, if you don't have a production schedule to keep and you don't mind having a few hogs around over the winter, let me tell you, that's some good eating right there. And we don't ever intend to get rid of guinea hogs completely. But for customers, we're going with a larger, faster growing breed that will still provide the fatty goodness. Fat means flavor. Much better. 2.2. That's double what it was hitting this morning. I'm not going to touch it to prove the point, but that's actually plenty. Oh, look at here. It never surprises me what you can find if you let the hogs just tear up the ground. We're back here in the woods. That is a piece of a tire. Looks like maybe I've run over it with the mower a time or two. Or maybe somebody else did with brush hog. I shouldn't say mower. Really? You barking at me, buddy? You're a handsome fella. Living out here on pasture has slimmed you down too. You're a fine specimen. We might have a new girlfriend in the future for you. You'll be very excited to meet her, I'm sure. Thanks for stopping by. I really appreciate it when you come by and visit with me. And since you're still here, this is probably a great time to go ahead and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on what's coming next. Right now, we get to see Vicky enjoying a little spa time. Wherever their waterer is, there's always a wallow. And these guys are big, so they're making a real mess of it. But that's okay. This area here is reserved for them to mess up, because this is their little patch of stability that never changes. Shelter right in there, so when the rain pours like it has the last couple of days, they can go in there, get out of the rain if they want to. Sometimes they just don't want to. If it's warm, they don't seem to mind it as long as it's not horrible. So once they get out of that paddock in the back there, which I'm only going to let them stay a few days, wreck as much as they can in that one paddock. I'm going to let that final paddock that's beyond that go a little further, and then I'm going to turn them in here. So this is 2 large paddocks that we added last season, and they're going to tear this up, and whatever they don't tear up, I'm going to tear up. Thanks for stopping by, and have a great day as always. Take care.